A client ate tuna salad sandwiches for lunch every day for 5 years, canned albacore. Tuna white meat. Tuna premium quality, high protein, low fat. He said his doctor recommended more fish. Less red meat. Tuna was convenient, affordable already in the pantry after 5 years of daily tuna sandwiches. His PSA 8.9 up from 7.6, 1.3 increase. His doctor ordered additional tests, including a hair mineral analysis. The results showed elevated mercury levels significantly above normal range. Do you eat a lot of fish? The doctor asked. Tuna sandwich every day for lunch for 5 years. The doctor paused. That's likely your mercury source, and it may be contributing to your PSA elevation. My client was shocked, but tuna is healthy. It's lean protein, that's why I eat it. The doctor explained the mercury problem. Large fish like tuna accumulate mercury through bioaccumulation. They eat smaller fish containing mercury over their lifetime. Mercury concentrates in their tissues. The larger and longer live the fish, the higher the mercury. Albacore tuna white meat. Tuna is larger than skipjack, contains 3 times more mercury. The FDA limit is 0.35 parts per million. Albacore averages 0.32 ppm, right at the limit. Some samples exceed it. Eating it daily for 5 years meant chronic mercury exposure. Mercury creates oxidative stress throughout the body. Research shows mercury exposure increases inflammatory markers, C-reactive protein and interleukin. 6A study measured mercury levels in hair samples and correlated them with PSA. Men with high mercury exposure had PSA levels 28% higher than men with low mercury. The mechanism involves mercury disrupting cellular antioxidant defenses. This creates oxidative damage. Oxidative damage triggers inflammation. Chronic inflammation keeps PSA elevated. The doctor suggested eliminating large fish completely. No tuna, no swordfish, no king mackerel. Switch to small fish. Instead, sardines, anchovies. Small salmon, small fish have short lifespans, don't accumulate mercury. My client stopped tuna, immediately started eating sardines for lunch instead. 3 months later, PSA 8.5 down 0.4, 6 months, PSA 7.9 down 1, full 0.9 months, PSA 7.4 down 1.5 total. Mercury normalized. 5 years eating tuna, thinking it was healthy protein, he told me. But the mercury was poisoning me, slowly creating inflammation and raising my PSA through working with clients. I've identified 4 fish that research links to elevated PSA. All 4 seem healthy. All 4 are commonly recommended, but all 4 have specific problems. Mercury contamination, omega-6, excess chemical pollutants, hormone disruption. Today, I'm revealing all 4 fish to avoid the research on each why they affect the prostate, specifically then the 4 best fish to eat instead with the mechanisms that support prostate health, if you're eating fish for health and your PSA isn't improving. Type fish in the comments and I'll send you the complete fish swap guide with mercury levels, omega ratios, and preparation methods. This is educational information based on research and clinical observation, not medical advice. Client details have been changed to protect privacy while maintaining accuracy of dietary patterns. Individual responses vary significantly. Work with your healthcare provider on dietary decisions. Let me show you the 4 fish to avoid and the 4 fish to eat instead. Fish to avoid. Number 1, large tuna. Mercury accumulation. This is what my client was consuming, and the research on mercury in large tuna is extensive. The FDA and EPA have issued advisories about tuna consumption, specifically because of mercury levels. Albacore white meat tuna averages 0.32 parts per million mercury, close to the FDA limit of 0.35. Bluefin can exceed 1 ppm 3 times. The FDA limit. The bioaccumulation process explains why mercury is released into oceans. From industrial pollution, small fish absorb trace amounts. Larger fish eat many small fish. Mercury concentrates in their tissues. With each fish consumed, the larger and longer live the predatory fish, the higher the mercury. Tuna are apex predators. They eat fish their entire lives. Some species live 40 years. 40 years of eating mercury-containing fish means extreme accumulation. When humans eat this tuna regularly, mercury accumulates in our bodies too. The health effects go beyond neurological damage. Mercury creates oxidative stress by depleting cellular antioxidant systems, specifically glutathione without adequate antioxidants. Cells experience oxidative damage. This triggers inflammatory responses. Research shows mercury exposure elevates inflammatory markers throughout the body. The 28% higher PSA correlation in men with elevated mercury is significant. That's nearly a third higher PSA. Just from mercury exposure, a client eating tuna daily for 5 years saw PSA rise 1.3 when he eliminated tuna and mercury levels normalized. PSA dropped 1.5 below his starting level. The solution: avoid large tuna species completely: albacore, bluefin, big eye, yellowfin, high. If you must eat tuna, choose skipjack, light tuna, smaller fish, shorter lifespan, about 1.3 the mercury of albacore. But even skipjack should be limited to once weekly maximum fish to avoid number 2 farmed tilapia, omega-6 inflammation bomb. And this one surprises people because tilapia is marketed as healthy, affordable, lean protein, farmed tilapia. 95% of tilapia sold in America has a terrible omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Research published in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association analyzed the fatty acid content of commonly consumed fish. The findings were shocking. Farmed tilapia had higher omega-6 levels than bacon. The omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in farmed tilapia, 11:1. Some samples tested at 20:1. The ideal ratio for human health is 4:1. Why does this matter for PSA? Omega-6 fatty acids are pro-inflammatory. They convert to inflammatory compounds called eicosanoids. These promote inflammation throughout the body. Research shows high omega-6 intake increases C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, both correlate with elevated PSA. A study found men with high omega-6 to omega-3 ratios had PSA levels 35% higher than men with balanced ratios. Most Americans already have omega-6 ratios around 15:1 from processed foods and vegetable oils. Adding farmed tilapia multiple times weekly makes this worse, pushing ratios toward 25:1. The problem stems from how tilapia are farmed. They're fed corn and soy-based feed, both extremely high in omega-6. Tilapia accumulate these fats in their flesh compared to wild fish that eat algae and smaller fish. Their natural diet is rich in omega-3, producing favorable ratios. Additionally, farmed tilapia are raised in crowded conditions. Disease spreads easily. Farmers use antibiotics preventatively. Antibiotic residues remain in the fish when consumed regularly. These can disrupt gut microbiome. Disrupted gut health means increased inflammation, which affects PSA. A client ate tilapia 5 nights weekly for 2 years. PSA rose from 7.8 to 9.3. 1.5 increase. The omega-6 overload was driving inflammation every night. When he switched to wild Pacific cod and sardines, PSA dropped 1.6 in 9 months below his starting level. The solution: eliminate farmed tilapia completely. Wild tilapia is rare and expensive. Better alternatives provide lean white fish without the inflammatory omega-6 load fish to avoid DRBA3 farmed Atlantic salmon, PCB contamination. This surprises people because salmon is considered the ultimate health food rich in omega-3, heart-healthy doctor recommended, but farmed salmon presents a serious contamination problem. A study published in the journal Science analyzed PCB levels in farmed versus wild salmon. The results were alarming. Farmed Atlantic salmon had PCB levels 16 times higher than wild Pacific salmon and 13 times higher than other seafood tested. PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, are industrial chemicals banned in the United States since 1977, but they persist in the environment for decades. They accumulate in the food chain. Farmed salmon are fed fish meal and fish oil made from smaller fish caught in contaminated waters. PCBs concentrate in this feed transferred to the farmed salmon, accumulate in their fatty tissue, the same tissue rich in omega-3. PCBs are endocrine disruptors. They mimic hormones in the body, binding to estrogen receptors for men. This creates hormonal imbalance. The prostate is extremely sensitive to hormonal signals. Research links PCB exposure to prostate issues. A study found men with high PCB blood levels had PSA 32% higher than men with low levels. The irony is profound. People eat farmed salmon specifically for omega-3 benefits. But farmed salmon actually have lower omega-3 than wild because of their feed-based diet versus natural diet. You're getting less omega-3 benefit plus PCB contamination. A client ate farmed salmon 3 times weekly for 2 years. PSA stayed stuck at 8.7, no improvement, despite consistent healthy salmon when he switched to wild Alaskan salmon. PSA dropped to 7.4 in 9 months, 1.3 decreased the solution. Avoid farmed Atlantic salmon completely. Choose wild Alaskan salmon instead. Sockeye, coho, king pink or chum all are caught wild in clean Alaskan waters with minimal PCB contamination fish to avoid number 4 king mackerel and swordfish. Extreme mercury. These large predatory fish have the highest mercury levels of any commonly sold seafood. Swordfish averages 0.99 ppm mercury, nearly 3 times the FDA limit of 0.35. Some samples exceed 2 ppm, 6 times the limit. King mackerel averages 0.73 ppm, more than double the FDA limit. These fish live long lives. Swordfish up to 15 years, king mackerel up to 30 years. Decades of eating mercury-contaminated prey means extreme accumulation. The mercury mechanism is the same as tuna, but more severe, higher mercury means more oxidative stress, more inflammation, higher PSA. There is no safe amount or frequency for these fish if you're concerned about mercury exposure and PSA. A client ate swordfish steaks twice weekly when dining out for 2 years. PSA rose from 8.1 to 9.0, 9/10 increase when he stopped swordfish and chose wild Pacific cod or Alaskan halibut. Instead, PSA dropped 1.2 in 10 months. The solution: never eat swordfish or king mackerel. The FDA specifically recommends avoiding these fish for men concerned about PSA and inflammation. These should be completely eliminated. Now, you know the 4 fish that may be harming your prostate. Next, the 4 fish that actually lower PSA fish to eat. Number 1, sardines, 0 mercury, maximum omega-3. This is the ideal replacement. For large tuna and possibly the most perfect fish for prostate health, sardines are tiny. They live only 2 to 3 years too short to accumulate any mercury. Mercury testing consistently shows 0 to trace amounts. You can eat sardines daily without any mercury concerns. The omega-3 content rivals. Wild salmon sardines contain 1.1 grams of omega-3 per 3 ounce, serving nearly identical to premium wild salmon. But the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is even better. 17 to 1 in favor of omega-3, the best ratio of any commonly available fish beyond omega-3. Sardines provide additional prostate benefits. They're rich in selenium, a trace mineral that supports antioxidant function. Research shows adequate selenium correlates with lower PSA. Sardines also provide vitamin D. 1 serving contains 30% of daily needs. Vitamin D is protective for the prostate. Additionally, sardines are completely sustainable. They reproduce quickly. Populations are abundant. Fisheries are well managed. My tuna-eating client replaced his daily sandwich with sardines on whole grain crackers in salads or mashed with avocado. 3 months later, mercury declining. PSA dropped 0.5, 6 months. PSA down 1 full 0.9 months. PSA down 1.5 total. Mercury normalized. I was skeptical. At first, he said, but they're delicious. When you find good brands, my PSA responded better than with any supplement. How to eat sardines. Start with high-quality sardines packed in olive oil. Wild caught from Portugal, Spain, or Morocco. Drain them, place on crackers with mustard. Add to salads or mash with avocado and lemon for a spread. Eat 3 to 7 times weekly. No upper limit. Sardines are that safe fish to eat. Number 2, wild Alaskan salmon. Clean omega-3 powerhouse. This is the replacement for farmed salmon and the gold standard for prostate-supportive fish. Wild Alaskan salmon includes 5 species: sockeye, coho, king pink, and chum, all caught wild in pristine Alaskan waters. The omega-3 content is exceptional. Wild sockeye contains 1.2 grams per 3 ounce, serving the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio 6 to 1, in favor of omega-3, dramatically better than farmed tilapias, 20 to 1 in favor of omega-6. Research on omega-3 and prostate health is extensive. A meta-analysis of 17 studies found men with high omega-3 intake had PSA levels 18% lower than men with low intake. The mechanism involves omega-3 converting to anti-inflammatory compounds called resolvins and protectins. These don't just reduce inflammation, they actively resolve inflammatory processes for men with chronic prostate inflammation. This active resolution is critical beyond omega-3. Wild Alaskan salmon is exceptionally clean. Mercury levels average 0.014 ppm, far below the FDA limit. PCB levels are minimal because wild salmon eat natural diets in clean waters, not contaminated fish meal. My client, who ate farm salmon with no PSA improvement, switched to wild Alaskan sockeye. Same frequency 3 times weekly. 6 months later, PSA dropped from 8.7 to 7.9, 12 months total. PSA reached 7.4, 1.3, decreased the omega-3 from wild salmon made the difference. He said, I could feel less inflammation, and my PSA finally responded how to choose. Look for wild Alaskan, clearly marked. Avoid Atlantic salmon, almost always farmed. Sockeye has highest omega-3. Frozen is fine, flash frozen on boats canned. Wild Alaskan salmon is excellent, convenient, and nutritious. Eat 3 to 4 times weekly fish to eat. Number 3, wild Pacific cod. Lean, clean replacement. This is the ideal replacement for farmed tilapia, for men who prefer mild-flavored white fish. Wild Pacific cod provides lean protein without omega-6 overload. A 3-ounce serving contains 20 grams of protein with only 0.2 grams of omega-6, compared to tilapia with 0.7 grams. 3 times more inflammatory fat. Wild cod's omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is balanced, not as omega-3 rich as salmon or sardines, but crucially low in omega-6. It doesn't promote inflammation. It's neutral to slightly anti-inflammatory mercury levels. In Pacific cod are very low, averaging 0.04 ppm, nearly 10 times below the FDA limit. Safe to eat frequently. Wild Pacific cod is exceptionally clean. No PCBs, no antibiotics, no hormones, caught wild in cold Pacific waters using sustainable methods. The mild flavor makes it extremely versatile. People who claim they don't like fish will eat cod. My tilapia eating client loved tilapia for its mild taste. Wild Pacific cod was the perfect replacement. He prepared it the same way, baked with lemon and herbs 4 times weekly. 3 months later, PSA dropped from 9.3 to 8.8. 6 months, PSA reached 8.2, 1.1 decrease. I don't miss tilapia at all. He said cod tastes better and I'm not eating an omega-6 inflammation bomb. How to choose? Look for wild Pacific or Alaskan cod. Avoid Atlantic cod, often farmed fresh or frozen. Both work if buying frozen. Choose individually vacuum-sealed fillets. Eat 3 to 4 times weekly fish to eat. Number 4, anchovies. Ultimate omega-3 density. This is another excellent replacement for large tuna for men seeking maximum omega-3 in the smallest, safest package. Anchovies are even tinier than sardines. They live only 1 year. Absolutely zero mercury accumulation, possible, completely safe. Without limit. The omega-3 content per ounce is higher than any other fish. Anchovies are almost entirely omega-3 rich oil. 1 ounce provides over 1 gram. The omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, approximately 15 to 1, in favor of omega-3. Most people don't eat anchovies whole. The Mediterranean secret: add anchovies to cooking as flavor enhancer. Add 2 to 3 fillets to pasta sauce. They dissolve completely during cooking. Add depth and umami without fishy taste. This technique has been used in Italian and French cooking for centuries. Research on small, oily fish shows consistent benefits. A study of Mediterranean populations found men eating small, oily fish 4 or more times weekly had PSA levels 22% lower than men eating them rarely. A client who disliked eating whole anchovies learned this technique. He added 2 to 3 fillets to pasta sauce every time he cooked. They dissolved completely. 3 anchovies provided his daily omega-3 target. 3 months later, PSA dropped from 8.6 to 8.1. 6 months. PSA reached 7.6 and 1 full point decrease. I never taste them, he said, but my inflammation markers are the best in years. How to use: buy anchovy fillets in olive oil. Spanish or Italian brands for eating whole. Rinse and place on crackers for cooking. Add 2 to 3 to sauces as they simmer. They dissolve and disappear. Or make anchovy butter mash with softened butter and herbs. Use 4 to 7 times weekly. No limit. My client ate tuna sandwiches for lunch every day for 5 years, thought he was making the healthiest choice. His PSA went from 7.6 to 8.9. 1.3 increase. Mercury accumulation was creating oxidative stress, driving inflammation, elevating PSA when he eliminated tuna and switched to sardines. PSA dropped 1.5 in 9 months below his starting level. Mercury normalized the 4 fish that may be harming your prostate: large tuna with bioaccumulated mercury, farmed tilapia with omega-6 worse than bacon, farmed Atlantic salmon with PCBs 16 times higher than wild king mackerel, and swordfish with extreme mercury. The 4 fish that support prostate health: sardines with 0 mercury and perfect omega-3 ratio, wild Alaskan salmon with clean omega-3, wild Pacific cod with minimal omega-6, anchovies with ultimate omega-3 density. Make the 4 for 4 swap. Track your PSA for 90 days. Comment fish below and I'll send you the complete guide. Mercury level charts, omega ratio comparisons, farm versus wild analysis, shopping guide with brands, preparation methods and recipes, meal planning templates. Subscribe, because next video I'm revealing the cooking method that destroys omega-3 in even the healthiest fish.